Welcome to the Grampians Wine Podcast. I'm your host, Neil Butler. In each episode of the podcast, we speak to a representative of the Grampians Winemakers or one of the wineries in the region. We'll learn about the wines, the wineries, and of course, the personalities associated with one of Victoria's leading wine regions. Today, I'm pleased to once again welcome Tom Guthrie from Grampians Escape, who is going to talk to us about some of the key events on the Grampians wine region calendar. Welcome back, Tom.
Welcome to you, Neil. Great to be back.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, this podcast series is all about the Grampians wine region, and today we're going to talk about, I think, 3 annual events that occur every year. Well, clearly, if they're annual, they'd happen every year, wouldn't
they? It's a good assumption to make.
So what's first? Which is the first one we want to talk about today?
Look, the biggest one that's been held since 1993 is the Grampians Grape Escape, held on the Halls Gap Oval every year on the first weekend in May. Now, it's, as I said, started in 1993. It was formerly known as the Grampians Gourmet Festival, and it was started by the winemakers, just a group of winemakers, no food, no pizzazz, just an event to garner interest in Grampians wine. And it's grown into a hugely successful 2-day festival. It was only one. Now it's Saturday and Sunday. We get something like 5,000 people on the Saturday. That's a full house. And then on Sunday, we get about 3,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, we get 120 exhibitors, of which 30 are wineries from the Grampians, Pyrenees and Henty regions. Have food stalls, you have cooking demonstrations, kids activities, and all through the weekend there is music playing on the music stage. So it's a real cross-section of, I guess, fun and frivolity.
Yeah, and the occasional glass of high-quality Grampians wine, I would have thought.
Well, we like to think the wine is front and centre, and it definitely is. I mean, that's the key attraction. Obviously, food goes with wine, and it's all about promoting Western Victorian food and produce. And the fact that it's now, well, we've unfortunately had to cancel the last 2 events because of that nasty COVID, but it is the longest running food and wine festival in Victoria.
Wow, okay. And do you have any sense of how far people come to be at the event?
Look, yes, there's survey done every year following the event, and that shows that some 45% of the visitors come from Melbourne. There are some from South Australia and other states, but the rest are pretty much regional Victoria. But, you know, from a point of view of attracting visitors to the Grampians, we certainly love to see people from Melbourne. And also, I think last year something like 40% were first-time visitors. So they're experiencing what we've got to offer in Halls Gap and the wine region, all at that event. The great thing about the event being in Halls Gap, apart from the beautiful scenic setting in amongst the mountains, is that there are 4,000 beds in Halls Gap. So people can stay in Halls Gap, can not only walk to the festival, but more importantly, walk home from the festival. No need for cars or vehicles. So it's a very relaxed atmosphere, great fun, and I think it's a testament to the organisers of the event that it grows year on year, and it's such a successful and appreciated event.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, move us on to the second event that you want to talk about.
Well, actually, just before I do that, a key feature of the event that I just briefly forgot about was the Barik Auction. So every year the winemakers contribute between 20 and 40 litres of their premium Shiraz to make up a Barik. For those who don't know what a Barik is, it's a 225 litre barrel, Now, at the auction, you don't have to buy the whole barrel. What we do is we bottle it and we auction it in varying sized lots from 2 bottles to 2 dozen, as well as there are 6 magnums. So people bid on that wine, and it's really high quality Shiraz. As evidenced, the last few years, the average price is $70, which is sort of in line with the cost of some of the region's more famous premium wines.
And given that a number of the bottles that you talk about in the standard range are in the sort of $25 to $30, and they're really good wines, then the 70s have got to be particularly good Shirazes, I would have thought.
Well, I think the fact that, it's an auction, so the price reflects the demand and the quality. And so over the years, we've seen that price increase because people have bought the Barik, have seen how good a quality it is and how well the region's Shiraz ages. The proceeds from the Barik auction are all used to promote the Grampians wine region and to get people to not only enjoy our wine, but to come and visit us in this part of the world. So it's a wonderful thing. And for anyone who's got any of that Barik wine, I can vouch for the fact that it ages well and they're superb wines.
I'm putting my name down for 2 bottles at the next auction, I think, by the sound of things. So the next event.
Okay, so the second one we do each year is called the Red Series. So it's a wine tasting event at the Gold Exchange in Ballarat. So it's held on the last weekend in July during Ballarat's Winter Festival. And if you like, we go to the people, or we certainly go to a major regional Victorian town, being Ballarat, and we join forces with the Pyrenees, and about 10 wineries from each region set up shop in the Gold Exchange, and we each offer tastings of 3 different wines. We could easily have 10 wines each, but that's just too many for the punters. So we each do 3. So there's 60 wines to taste. You've got from 1 till 6 p.m. 500 people in a non-COVID year is the maximum number that attend, and it's a really great way to showcase our wines in the middle of winter when Shiraz tastes the best in that lovely Ballarat climate that we know of. There is nothing like Western Victorian Shiraz to make everyone feel better.
There's an event that's held down here in my hometown of Geelong where they do something similar, but you walk from venue to venue. And by the time the day is out, people are struggling to walk between the venues. But it sounds like a very sensible idea to have it in the one spot on the one day. It's a much more sensible approach. So no, that sounds good. So that's in the last week of July. So it would be peak cold weather, you would think.
Absolutely. It's good to know that there is heating in the mining exchange. The distances between each exhibitor are small. And look, it's a cosy atmosphere. And again, look, this event started 8 years ago on a very small basis, not knowing if it would work or not. But the last couple of years we ran it, it's taken off, and I guess people know about it. All these things usually take some time to really get going and for people to remember it's on and get the marketing right, I guess. But it's been a really successful event, and we're really itching for it to go again next year, hopefully, after missing out both this year and last year.
And I assume you notice an increase in sales at the event, but also in the follow-up to the events, do you?
Yeah, look, all these events generate interest, and people can either order wine on the spot. You can take bottles of wine away with you. And a lot of wineries use the opportunity to try and sign people up onto their wine clubs.
Yeah.
And the great thing is when you're able to not only give tastings of wine, but the punters get to meet the winemakers, and you're talking to people rather than to a website. It's so much more fun talking to real people and tasting what you hopefully will buy or like to buy. So it's just old-fashioned meeting people, talking to people. It's so much more effective than most other means of marketing and getting word out there.
And I guess also you're meeting with people who really know the wines, don't you? So it's not talking to someone who works in a call centre somewhere. You're talking to the people who've often made the wine or have grown the grapes, or that is one of the great appeals of these events, I would think.
That's right. Every winery's got a story to tell, and there are human faces behind it. We're not factories, so it's and you're right. Most of the people who come have a genuine interest in wine. I guess if they didn't, they'd be off to the footy or whatever. But it's some events are on. Sometimes you get the wrong type of people, but we've seen in Ballarat it's been a great cross section of people interested in wine, and then sometimes you get a few of the cafe and pub owners who come along and are interested in buying wholesale. So it's a great opportunity and a really successful event. And hopefully when we're going again next year, we can see another 500 people enjoy the day as we do.
And with those stories behind those wineries, if only there was a podcast series that talked about it, that'd be good. And the third event, Tom.
Okay, the third event is another event where we had the Grape Escape, which is in May, and we encourage as many people as possible to that event in Halls Gap. This event is called Seriously Shiraz, and again we're inviting people to the region, but this time the focus is on getting people to come and visit the cellar doors. So to come out, a bit of driving involved, but it's about seeing where the wines are made, seeing our cellar doors, seeing the vineyards, and that's been operating. The Seriously Shiraz, again, it's been operating for 6 or 8 years. It's taken a while to gather momentum, and this year a committee had plans to beef it up yet another level by having a combined event at J Ward in Ararat on the Saturday of this weekend. Now the weekend is the first weekend in September, is the weekend that it happens each year. And this year we were going to have this combined event where the winery, just Grampians wineries, have pop-ups at the J Ward, ex-J Ward jail in Ararat. And there'll be pop-ups, food and music, and we have a combined day. So everyone comes to the central venue on the Saturday, and then the rest of the weekend, be it Friday night, Saturday night or Sunday, people go and visit the wineries and attend various types of events like wine master classes, special lunches, special dinners in the drives, music, what have you. But so all of these 3 events are slightly different in what they're about, but they're all about generating activity in our region and people enjoying good quality wine.
I think one of the things too, Tom, at the risk of sort of stating the obvious, we're up to episode, I think, 18 or 19 of this series. There's still a few to record. And you think you're talking to people who are making wine, but there is a story. It's really quite an art sort of conversation, isn't it? It's not just I stick the grapes in a barrel and they just magically turn to wine. Every single person that I've spoken to in this series, and I'm looking forward to 3 or 4 more yet, there is a story and it is worth listening to, isn't it? So you don't just go and drink the wine, you go and hear about how it came together.
Yes, Well, Neil, you'll probably know more than any of us now because you've spoken to all the winemakers. And you did right. I mean, you only have to look at the size of the varying size of wineries from the Mount Langies and the Bess and the Seppelts down to the little guys who are only just beginning and got 30 dozen bottle runs. 150 years ago, Seppelts and Bess probably started with a 30 dozen bottle run. So people are in different sizes. People come from different backgrounds. I'm a broken down retired sheep farmer. Accidents happen and you end up in the wine industry. So
absolutely,
people have come from all different angles, but the thing that's perhaps consistent amongst us all is a passion for wine and for wine from this region. We're so lucky to be in a region that grows such good wine, particularly Shiraz. And the region's got a story to tell. We've all got a story to tell. And as you and I have just been saying, talking to the winemakers and physically visiting their wineries is all part of that story.
And I think, again, if you break it down to the scientific component of it, there's certain equipment that each of you are using, but it's that conversation in the cellar door. It's a lot like walking into someone's lounge room, isn't it? Albeit slightly larger and with a liquor license. But to me, it's no different to going and visiting someone at their home and learning their story. And I just think it's fascinating, which is where my job in this particular podcast series has been awesome, because I've been able to visit all of them, albeit virtually.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, people do. They come into the cellar door. It's a friendly, welcoming environment. And you treat people, people are interested to know your story. And very quickly, you just get into a normal conversation about life, about winemaking, quality of wine, how old the vines are, why did the Cats lose the preliminary final? Whatever it is, there's a story there.
Well done, getting 16 minutes into the conversation before you mention the Cats. That's very well done.
And I mean, gee, how to spoil a podcast, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Tom, we have come to the close of our conversation. In most episodes, we ask our guests a few questions about themselves, but we're not going to do that this time with you because you gave your answers back in episode 12. So if you haven't already done so, please make sure you go back and catch up with episode 12, where Tom tells us about his winery, Grampians Estate. But Tom, thanks for joining us again on the Grampians Wine Podcast today.
Thanks, Neil. And we certainly look forward to welcoming you and your listeners to the Grampians Grape Escape in May, the Red Series in July, and Seriously Shiraz in September. They're all great events, and we look forward to seeing you there.
And you can find out everything you need to know about those events at www.grampianswine.com.au. Thanks again, Tom.
Thanks, Neil.
This has been another episode of the Grampians Wine Podcast featuring Tom Guthrie from Grampians Estate. You can subscribe to the podcast by visiting grampianswinepodcast.com.au. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, but it will give you the chance to listen to previous episodes and to be reminded whenever we publish another episode. You can watch video versions of the podcast by subscribing to the Grampians Wine YouTube channel. We'll be back soon with another episode. My name is Neil Butler. I look forward to your company then. Cheers.